And I didn't know I was married. Hello, YouTube. I was going to talk a little bit about God's safety in our marriage and how we were still married even after death. And like I said before, I got married on my first date at 17. I didn't drive. I didn't have my high school diploma. I didn't drive. My mom drove me to the church. And my husband was on a bicycle. And they didn't force us, they persuaded us to say vows out of a priest's book. And we said the vows, and then they married us. So we didn't know. We were a bunch of dumb kids that didn't know better. And the lady didn't know better, the woman that married us. And at first I did thought this woman just married us. But then I'm all like, no, she's a woman. But then, after my husband went to heaven, he revealed, no, stupid, you don't need, the priest doesn't marry you, it's the couple that marries each other. And so I was married for 15 years, not knowing I was married for 15 years. And after he died, I had left my husband. Now I tried to do civil marriage to get him papers because he was an illegal alien. I tried to get him civil marriage, and um, before and after his accident, and it didn't happen for a lot of reasons. A lot of it was my family. First it was my dad because he wanted me to clean the house, and because they had no other maid but me. And the second one was my parents because he was crippled now, and so they didn't want me to get married. So they made it was impossible for me to get married with him. Plus, I had the company to run. Nobody else would do the paperwork, and and I was doing the company. It was supporting him because he was a kingpin of the Familia Michoacana, and they were selling drugs in my in the fields where we worked. And none of the men that worked for him worked for me. And that's how I supported my husband without knowing for 15 years. And his mother, his biological mother, that was sending money. At first, I was embarrassed that she was sending her money, and I was the wife. And then I found out it was his biological mother. Would She would give us cash. She would lend us cash, and we would run the company with it, and it would give us liquidity for 1% interest. And she would gain 1%, which wasn't a lot, but it was good for 50 grand. Just $500 in the pocket just for cashing money. And so did my brother-in-law. And my brother-in-law was the stepfather of his daughter, which she didn't know he had. And I don't even know he died. I knew he died because I saw him in front of me. I saw his ghost. And I never thought about it, why I saw his ghost. I just knew that I had seen him before when he got in his accident. He was coming towards me, and I told him to go back. And I saved his life because he went back to his body because he was dying. And I had told him to go back because I saw his body, I saw his soul. He was coming towards me because I was the wife, and he was coming towards me because I'm the other body of his soul. And I saved his life. If he would have crossed the line, we both would have gotten condemned. I would have gotten condemned, and he would have gotten condemned with any sin. And so when he's dead, he starts talking to me all happy. But I didn't understand what he was talking because God didn't want me to hear it. But he wanted to spill out the beans that maybe that I was his wife, but God didn't want me to know that. God still had the experiment to get going, the marriage experiment. The experiment of not knowing that you're married and you live all this marriage blindly. So you can learn about marriage. And so he talks to me, hugs me, and melts into me and disappears. And then that night, I could hear him. I started crying, saying why I never got to marry him, and I just saw him. He was probably the love of my life. And I started crying, and I could hear, "Está bien." He knew already that he was my husband, and I cried that I never got to marry him, but I actually married him on my first date. And my husband was with me after death. He had the body in Mexico, 2,000 miles away. He wasn't with his biological mother, his biological father, his stepmother, his stepfather. He was with me, his wife. And I left him, but he was still with me. And I never got civil contract. I only did the verbal marriage, the verbal Catholic marriage. And but there was nothing to resolve it. And the pen and paper doesn't dissolve a marriage. Because God hooks you up biologically, spiritually, universally, body, mind, and soul. He hooks you up. And there is nothing in the Bible that undo it, except for death. And even after death, you're still hooked. You're still one. Even after death, my husband was with me, even though I left him. And there was nothing to undo that marriage. And that marriage had a bunch of excuses, people. I was 17. It was my first date. I didn't even know his name. I barely knew his name. I knew his name when I was saying the vows. And I didn't know his name. I didn't drive. He had a baby mama. I had adultery with other men. I had intercourse first with other men before even trying to have it with him because he was paraplegic. And even though maybe I didn't have it because I tried my hardest to get it in there. And you don't know, I don't even know if it went in there or not. Because, I mean, it flattened out because he was paralyzed. But I had to have some kind of meat of his inside of me because the marriage made me horny for him. I mean, it made me desperate. And even if I tried other men or masturbating, it was just like adding oil to fire. It didn't work. It didn't work. I could have really good long sex with men all night long, and then half an hour after having sex with him, I still be horny. And it was because I was married to him, and I had a problem, and my problem went away when he died. But God healed me. He healed my heart, which it was full of hatred. And so I was still his wife even after death. And there was nothing that undid it. Nothing. It was valid from the moment we said we did till even after death we're still hooked. And so he was with me in the funeral. He was with me, not his mama, nobody. He could have been with his daughter. He could have been with his biological parents, but he chose it with me because I was the closest one he had. And so God, instead of stapling the marriage because we were fools, we didn't know better, he stapled it, and he made me liable for his sins. Didn't you know he denied me? Of course I did. I did, and I didn't correct him, and I wanted to. But I was afraid I wasn't in my house, but I was in my house. I was in my house, and I should have corrected him. Maybe that would have saved me a trip. But even God made me liable for his sins, and he was liable for my sins. He became paralyzed because I did a sacrilege, and I saved him. He saved me, because marriage is for salvation as well. It's a trick God uses for salvation. The other one saves the other one, and then both of them can damn each other, but one can save the other one, and I can save both. And the husband saved me, and I saved my husband.